Is Shiva ready?
The live streaming is started.
Okay. If Shiva is ready, I can start actually. Param is ready, correct?
Stand there and get me on pen once I start talking.
Okay.
Shiva?
Yes, I am ready, Sadan.
Shiva is ready. Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cook Along with Shiva. We are glad to see all of you along with us here. This program is organized by Sringeri Vidya Bharati Foundation, SVBF, and Ontario Konkani Association, OKA, in cooperation with Chef Siva Cooking School and partially supported by Provincial Government of Ontario grant. At this point, I'd like to invite Board of Trustee of SVBF, Dr. Param Bhatt, to bring the message from SVBF. Param?
Thank you, Sadanand. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Sringeri Vidya Bharati Foundation Canada, or SVBF, we welcome you all to this very special program on wellness of seniors. A special welcome to Siva Swaminathan, who is an expert in not only on variety of cooking and a specialist on diabetes cooking. And we really thank Siva for spending the time with us and educating us on healthy cooking and healthy living. We seniors have to maintain our quality of life as long as possible, and hope this type of program would help us and encourage and motivate us to stay healthy and cook healthy, eat healthy, and stay healthy. So with that, I want to thank again Sadanand for organizing and leading this program, and thank Ontario Konkani Association for partnering with us. And we welcome you all for this very educational program. Thank you very much. Sadanand?
Thanks, Param. We have able support as far as technology is concerned from Rachana Kamath. Rachana Kamath is an entertainment coordinator for Ontario Konkani Association, and she is bringing a message from OKA. Rachana?
Yes, Sadanand. 1 second. I need to add spotlight. Yeah. Sorry, I'm doing the technical.
It's okay, you are spotted.
Yeah. Namaste and good morning, everyone. I'm Rachana Kamath with my better half, Vikram Prabhu. We are currently serving as entertainment coordinators of Ontario Konkani Association. Here at OKA, since 33 years, we are bringing community together culturally and socially. We are supporting and also conducting many seminars in various fields that educate all of us. Being healthy and simple has become a trend now. Personally, when we moved to Canada, I hardly knew to cook, and I did very simple dishes and never thought about nutrition much. Later, in my kids' school, there was a Canada's Food Guide 6 weeks course that educated me to plan out my daily menu better with being kids at home. Why I'm stressing on kids is, in the same course, I learned that kids also get diabetes, which really shook me. Few say it's hereditary only, but I strongly disagree. With or without diabetes, it's very important to stay healthy, eat nutritional foods also in a simple way. We at OKA always love to host such sessions that can help a lot of people. Today, we are here for one such session with Chef Siva being our speaker. It's a lecture cum demo cook-along event, which is focused on diabetes. I remember at OKA, we started our year with a simple cook-along event too. Many participated and appreciated. Without wasting more time, let me now ask our dear Sadanand Ma'am to lead us to a very informative session. Thank you. Over to you, Sadanand Ma'am.
Thank you, Rachana. Excellent message. Thank you very much. As many of you may remember that SVBF and OKA together started a health awareness program in 2018. Since then, we held over 40 sessions covering not only health issues, even socio-cultural aspects like seniors living, seniors residences, even estate planning. And recently we held one on human trafficking. When we started the working group in 2018, Shiva Swaminathan readily joined us as an advisor. And as a matter of fact, our first session was on diabetes, and Shiva was one of our speakers. Shiva's background is IT. Cooking is her hobby. But somehow, somewhere, the hobby had turned into passion and profession. She started the Chef Siva cooking school, and she is a strong advocate of proper diet. Diabetic herself, she is a strong advocate of diabetes patients and the cause. And she is founder of South Asian Diabetes Chapter. She is the executive chair of the chapter. And Shiva always talks about cooking, not necessarily eating, but the benefits of nutrition, etc., GI index, and you will hear it. In this presentation, she is going to demonstrate 2 recipes. Not only that, she will answer your questions related to the nutrition, especially associated with diabetes. So with that, over to you, Shiva.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, and good morning to everybody on a sort of a Toronto blizzard time. And first of all, I want to thank the committee of OKA, and also, could you just pin that, Svika? My 14-year-old is my tech expert. She's just incredible. She put this whole thing together. So what I'm doing is this morning demonstrating how to eat healthier. So we're going to get started, but first just some housekeeping notes. If you have any questions related immediately about the recipe, put it on the chat and they will facilitate the questions that's related to the recipe. And if it is something that is something outside of today's demo, like in terms of cooking, salt, oil, all kinds of other questions, again, type it on the chat and then we'll do it after the demo. Part of the reason I devised this recipe is I wanted to do something that's fun, but something also enjoyable. Enjoyable in a sense that this demo today is South Asian focused, but it's also for people who are joining that are not South Asian here. Because one of the key things about diabetes is it doesn't choose creed, gender, race, religion. It just picks anybody. And like the introduction, I left IT. And because my passion for cooking won, my grandmother was an amazing, amazing cook in India. My mother here in Canada, first generation. So for me, food always connected me. So I needed to get back to food. So I went to culinary school at George Brown, and I trained as a culinary chef. Because being in IT for many years, I needed to fast track my career. So I went to Europe and I lived in Germany and Switzerland for 2 years to hone my skills. So a lot of the recipes and the technique today I'm going to share with you is that knowledge. It's just not only cooking, but how to make healthy food taste good. Because if the food doesn't taste good, people won't change the way they eat. And the reason I'm saying it is after my practical in Germany, and I came back and I had a catering business. And then what happened was I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is 100% insulin dependent. And right here behind the counter, I wear an insulin pump and I have a hose. It's attached to my body. And I have an infusion set that I have to change every 3 days. So for me, my body doesn't create any insulin. So for me, it's 100% insulin is what I need. So when I eat food like this, I need to manually give insulin. So that's how we're going to combat and talk about carbohydrate later today, is how all this carb that we enjoy is going to be balanced with blood sugar. And in my arm, you see this green patch. That is my armor. That is my glucose sensor. It sends glucose trends, in my body almost every minute to my pump. It talks to my pump, so that's why I wear my pump close to my sensor. And every week I have to change this. So part of my recipe development is also looking at food trends and how it really works on my blood sugar. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about again is coming back to the recipe. I developed this recipe specifically for this event because we all enjoy things like pancake, dosa, chila from northern part of India. And in the Western world, we love pancakes. But what happens with regular food is the food, either in the South Asian cooking has a lot of rice, or in the Western cooking, it's all-purpose flour, which is ground, finely processed whole wheat. So what happens to both of those grains? When you eat them, your blood sugar goes up. And if you're healthy, if you have a healthy pancreas and you don't have to worry about diabetes, your body almost, it instantly produces insulin to combat that pancake or that dosa or that idli. But when you're a person with pre-diabetes condition or type 2 or type 1, guess what? Your insulin production may not be enough to combat that pancake or that dosa that you're eating. So then what we need to do is to re-engineer the way we eat food. So the food is not going to spike your blood sugar. Again, coming back to a healthy pancreas, you may not see what your blood sugar is right after you enjoy 2 pancakes or 2 dosa, because what's happened is your blood sugar will go up and the insulin production will take all that carb and check them. And then guess what? It processes them. So it comes to a balance. But for us with diabetes, what happens is that either you're taking oral medication or insulin. If you don't take enough, all this carbohydrate you're eating, it's going to rise. And it's going to stay there until it meets the medication, whatever medication you're taking, and then to bring it back to a nice balance. If you don't have enough insulin or medication, all this wonderful food you're eating is just going to float around here for 3-4 hours to rise your blood sugar and then boom, crash. And so when you go see your doctor for your A1C, your monthly checkup, your doctor's going to say a number and say, hey, guess what? You're going to have to do better. You're going to have to eat healthier because your numbers are still really high. So guess what happens? So when they tell you that you have to eat healthier, you have to think and say, how am I going to decode that? Because medication is doing its part, right? The insulin is taking care of your blood sugars. But what happens is we eat 3 times a day, 5 times a day. That's the carbohydrate we need to take care of, because the oral medication and the insulin pump is giving gradual insulin all day today so that we can function like a normal human being with a normal pancreas, because that's what happens to a normal, healthy person with a pancreas is tiny bit of insulin production is given all day, right? Every minute. So, but when we don't have it, we manually give insulin. But coming back to the demo, we eat this type of food, but then the earlier when I was talking about the all-purpose flour pancakes or the dosa with a lot of rice ratio, we need to take care of because that is not helping our blood sugar. Okay, so we need to make it to a healthier grain. So we gave a chart. We'll talk about it a little later. the grains and starches. We're going to go over that. The PDF that was sent on glycemic index, we'll go over that. But if you look at, there are 3 columns. There's low glycemic, medium, and high. And if you look at the grains in there, it gives you an example of the grains that is going to give you a better blood glucose. So very quickly, I'll talk about low GI, and then we'll get to the demo, because the demo is not going to take long. Low GI, high GI, medium GI, all it means is when you consume, let's say, a teaspoon of sugar, that's called 100% high, carbohydrate, GI, is how quickly it absorbs into our blood sugar. So if you take a teaspoon of sugar, it's got 4 grams of carbohydrate, and you watch it, it's going to rise, and then it's going to go fall. And if you're going to have a spoon of, say, yogurt, it's going to go rise a little bit, and then it's going to come and give you a balance. So every food we eat has a number that's attached. All it means is when you consume that food, what happens in your blood sugar? It's sort of like, what's happening in back, right? The action behind the scene, which we don't get to see, but as a diabetic, I get to see it every day because of my CGM and my insulin pump, how every food behaves. So what we need to do is, instead of all-purpose flour, we are slowing it down with, here we have oats, okay? We're gonna make our beautiful, beautiful pancake with these oats, because oats is one of those grains, we can even, this is going to be, because look at this, it's also in chunk, it's a flake, and what it's going to do is it's going to slow it down, okay? And then we have a couple of different grains here, combination of basin, which is chickpea flour, and then we have whole wheat, whole grain whole wheat. So all we are doing here is we're kind of taking that white rice out, white all-purpose out, because those are the ones that are going to raise your blood sugar. So we'll come back to that. But when you look at it like in here in grain, like short grain rice, that's what we use to make dosa. All-purpose flour, that means it's completely refined, where all the fiber is taken out. So now we're slowing it down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the stove on, and I'm going to talk to you what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do with the recipe is, first of all, we're going to toast the oats. The reason we're going to toast it is just toasting it a little bit cooks the oats, and then when we're going to make the pancake, it's going to kind of nicely come and bind together. Okay, so I'm just going to wait for my stove to get heated. I have a beautiful professional stove here, but if I turn my back, you won't be able to see me. So I'm using a much different, slower method. So what we're going to do is we're going to slowly cook the oats. What we're going to do is we're going to toast these oats for about 2 to 3 minutes. And then what we're going to do is let it cool and then combine the ingredients. So if you're cooking along with me, look at the South Asian pancakes. So what we have here is, this is a tray of all the ingredients we're going to be using today. So this is, in a cooking term, called mise en place. That means everything has its place. So when I was training to be a chef, if you're cooking anything, whole day of restaurant, like, dinner service or lunch service, we would prepare all of these things ahead of time. So just a different kind of a tip from a cook's point of view. If you're making any time a recipe, get a tray, get all your ingredients together. Then you will not miss a single ingredient. And guess what? You have it already pre-measured. Because when you're trying to measure and trying to do a recipe, your counter is cluttered. You don't know whether you put 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons, or did I put that, so having it organized is a great idea. So I always do this at home, but I'm just kind of passing this as a note while I'm waiting for my stove to get hot. Yeah, it's getting there. And the idea is we have all our measurements ready to go. So if you're cooking along with me, we're going to start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my 1 cup of oats, and I'm just going to toast this. It's a dry pan, okay? It's a dry pan, okay? Unfortunately, my arm doesn't go that far, so apologize, but I'll show you. But you know, just in a dry pan. Okay. So I'm toasting it. And when you start smelling the oats, that means it's done. But don't wait for it to burn. You know, you don't have to toast it if you don't want to. But I just kind of find that toasting really gives just an extra couple of minutes of cooking the oats. So this is what we're doing. We're kind of, you know, if you're, you know, for, there's a South Indian dish called ugma. And for ugma, a lot of times my grandmother, what they would do is roast the rava, the cream of wheat, or the cracked wheat. So giving, you know, roasting them gives one, you know, aromatic, you know, smell to the food, but also kind of cooks it a little bit. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, it's getting warm and toasty. Beautiful. So that's been there for about a minute, minute and a half. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is take this oats. I'm just going to put it in a bowl. I'm going to cool it. Okay. And I'm just going to rinse this pan. I'll be back in 2 seconds. So now we don't need the pan. I'm just going to put it aside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the dough first, because the dough takes about 15 minutes to sit, and what we call is sort of like cure. Okay, and I'm going to come back, but what we're going to do is we're going to jump around a little bit, because the dough takes about 15 minutes to rest. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, jump to the chutney. The chutney, also what we're going to do is we're just going to saute our vegetables, and then we're going to blend it. So stay along with me. So right now, I'm just going to move this tray to the right of me so you guys can see. Is everyone with me so far? If there's any question, you know, go ahead, type on the chat, and then we'll clear it. So we have here 1 cup of toasted oats. And what I have here is half a cup of besan and half a cup of whole grain, whole wheat. Besan is, again, the chickpea flour. And if you're not South Asian that's following us today, besan is an amazing, amazing flour to cook with. So if you're looking for an alternative, besides, let's say, all-purpose flour, whole grain, whole wheat is a great idea. But also besan is really good. It's underrated. Unless you're South Asian, people don't know what besan is. And guess what? A lot of now, due to the vegan cooking, plant-based movement, besan's getting a lot of mileage, because besan is one of those flour, again, is chickpea. So that's lentil. Guess what? It's got carbohydrate, and it's got healthy protein, and it's got fiber. So it's a winner. And guess what? It's gluten-free. So if you are having gluten allergy, besan's an excellent choice instead of whole wheat. So for today, in terms of substitution, if you're kind of saying, hey, you know what? If I can't get besan, you know, what can I do? You can get barley. Unfortunately, is gluten-free, but the way it's processed, it might cross with the whole wheat. So be careful with that. Millet is good. Buckwheat flour is good. So those are all sort of gluten-free flours. But I would say go for besan. And if you can't find it in your grocery store, go to a South Asian Indian grocery stores. They sell bags of it, because a lot of South Asian food is based on, you know, besan. So besan is absolutely a wonderful alternative. So even if you're like, you know, Western cooking for pancake, for healthy pancakes or waffles, use besan. So now I'm just going to feel my oats. Yeah, it's beautifully cooled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine my whole wheat and my besan flour here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to combine all the dry ingredients first. Okay, so I have my flours, I have in here, 2 cups of cream of wheat. I'm going to mix it up. Some chili powder. And I have in here a combination of baking powder and baking soda. And what else? Chili powder. Okay. I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to come back to the fennel and cumin in a minute. So I have some black pepper. Fennel and the cumin right here. The fennel seeds are here and the cumin. You could use the powder, but I'm going to show you an amazing trick you're never going to miss. And it is so good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to freshly grind it because this pancake is going to be so good. Last night I made it again just for a snack. Guess what? The whole kitchen smelled like cumin and fennel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my mortar and pestle. I'm just going to give it a quick there you go. We just kind of broke them up. Oh my God, it smells so good. So if you don't have a mortar and pestle, I would say get one. This is awesome. This is where a lot of times I grind my cardamom, cumin, fennel. It's like I have about 6 of them over there, but the idea is it is so good and flavorful. So, you know, who knows if you found, you know, if you bought your cumin powder, how long it's been sitting in the, you know, store shelf. So sometimes having some fresh ingredients is good. So we have all our dry ingredients ahead. Now I'm going to come back. Mix it up. And I'm going through my, okay. My daughter prepared this lovely 2 scoops. She's always my amazing helper. And we have 1/3 cup of grated zucchini and 1/3 cup of carrots. So if you could use it sort of like a medium kind of a grater like this would be good. And same thing with the zucchini. The only thing I would say with the zucchini is grind it. Put it through, if you have a strainer, otherwise just squeeze the water out because the excess water just makes your dough a bit runny. So you can squeeze it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all my carrot and zucchini. Have you ever thought of your pancake being this delicious and veggie? And guess what? You're getting a lot of vegetables. And then I have some chopped 2 green chilies. And if you like more, put more. And if you're not a fan of, you know, chili, omit it. We have chopped ginger. Again, it's for your preference. If you want 2 tablespoons, go for it. I have turmeric here. And the onion. Okay. Add the salt in the end. Okay. And one more ingredient I have here that's absolutely wonderful, and again, I didn't put it in the recipe, but I'm going to talk to you guys about, is ground, flax. Excuse me, I was going to say chia. This is ground flax. It's an option if you want. It's omega-3, and it's really good fatty acid for your body. If you like, put a teaspoon of it. If you don't worry about it. Again, we're just talking about how to inject some healthy ingredients in our food. So I'm going to add the coriander in the end. So I'm going to put my tray away. Now we're going to mix it. So we have all our dry ingredients and wet ingredients together. Now comes the trick. We're going to add the water. I'm going to add the salt after the dough has been sitting, okay? You can see in this recipe, there's no yogurt added. Sometimes in the South Asian cooking, for fast tracking, we would add a bit of yogurt because yogurt works like yeast, you know, binds things together. In here, our binding ingredients are the basin and the cream of wheat. That's what's going to bind it together. But I didn't put a lot of cream of wheat because cream of wheat, again, is medium to high GI, and it raises blood sugar. So if you're, again, in South Asian cooking, if you eat, for example, ugma, there's a dish called ugma, and it's made with cream of wheat. And you might find your blood sugar raises. So next time, if anybody is interested, just, or, drop me a note, I'll send you a recipe, but I try to use things like bulgur ugma, quinoa ugma, or millet, or cracked wheat, or something like that, because it's a little bit more healthier because it's low GI. So now it's very thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let the dough rest. Okay, I'm going to let it rest because I want it to kind of come together. So I'm just going to not disturb this and put this away. And like I said, we're going to jump around a bit and then we'll come back. Now what we're going to do is do the chutney. So the chutney, again, needs to cool. So what I'm going to do, here we have the stove heated up in our frying pan. What I'm going to do here is I'll show you the ingredients for the chutney. So again, I have my mise en place ready. So this is for the chutney. So if you look at the recipe, vegetable peanut chutney. So what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly just saute all these ingredients, again, cooling it. Part of the reason I'm just showing you green onion, it's not part of the recipe, but if you wanted to add some green onions, it's great. Also, you can chop some green onions and put them in our pancake, or green peppers. The only, sometimes people put tomatoes, but right now, it's winter, tomatoes not in season, and they tend to be hard or watery. So don't, there's no need for that. But experiment. This is a recipe, but what I want you guys to do is to expand your recipe. You can put shredded cabbage, or pancake, like all the vegetables that's not too liquidy, but is going to add a lot of fiber. Or if you want, you could even add finely chopped, broccoli or cauliflower flower, because now cauliflower is the biggest rage. So you can chop cauliflower and just add it with that. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm just heating my pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put just a teaspoon of oil. That's a half a teaspoon. So I'm just going to let the oil heat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start sauteing all my ingredients for the chutney. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the onion. And you don't have to worry about chopping it too fine here, because the idea is we're going to blend it, right? We're going to blend it. So I'm just kind of giving them a bit of sort of like, how do you say, just wilting it. Okay. So I got my onion. I got my ginger. I'm going to add the red chili. I'm going to just break it up a little bit. The blender is going to take care of it. Again, my daughter was sweet. Guess what? She made the scoop. And part of the reason I developed this recipe is, do you see the ingredients are sort of like crossing each other? So that's the great idea, because we're kind of using the same ingredients. So if you're kind of sitting there going like, hey, you know what? I got 3 zucchinis. What I'm going to do? We're going to use them. Okay. So okay, my zucchini. My tomato. It's almost like we call it sweating, in our cooking terms, because what's happening is we haven't added any water. So the steam is cooking slightly these vegetables. And if you have some, I wanted to just show you guys red chili. If you want, something really fiery, you can do the red chili. So I'm going to just turn this off. Now, while it's cooling, I'm just going to add my peanuts. And part of the reason I added the peanuts is healthy protein. So all we're doing today is healthy carbs, healthy protein. So adding this protein is really going to give us extra protein that we need in our meal. Is everyone with me so far? Is there any questions anybody has before we go further? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. I'm just turning off my stove and we'll come back. The dough is looking good. So if you look here, see, it's beautifully binded together. I apologize, I forgot to add the ginger for our chutney. I was getting really ahead of myself. Param, is there any questions so far with any of the things that we have done so far? So Don, is there any questions?
Rachana,
No, there are no questions here.
Only one question I can ask you, Shiva, is you have cooked some of those vegetables you are using in chutney. Is it absolutely necessary to cook them? Just you can use them raw, correct?
You can use them raw, but because the chutney, I didn't want the raw taste, so just sauteing them for 2 minutes just take the rawness away. But if you prefer to have it fresh, you can do that too. Because as you know, you can eat zucchini fresh, you can eat carrots fresh if you want. But sometimes for chutney, for example, we make a chutney, in our home, when I was growing up, like an onion chutney or a tomato chutney, they would be sauteed for like about a minute or two. So you can do that. So some of the chutneys that I have growing up, we would saute the ingredients just for like a minute or two, but not to like cook, but like you said, they were just there briefly. So what we're doing is by putting them in the frying pan and sauteing them, what happens is it kind of has a steam saute thing happening.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions so far? Okay. So I'm going to get organized because now we're going to make our pancakes. So I'm just getting my stage set up for that. So please bear with me for 2 seconds. I'm still not done with the batter yet, so just be patient. We're going to finish off in a few seconds because we got a couple of more steps to go. I'm going to let my stove heat my pan up because I have a beautiful, another handy stove, which is induction. But induction fan makes a lot of noise and it's not good for demo, but that's what I use. I have another gas one too. They're really fast, but because the fan makes so much noise, I'm sort of doing good old fashioned, hot plate, which kind of takes a little longer, but it gets the job done. And I've used it on many of my demos, but at least it's quieter so you guys can hear me. So while my pan is getting hot, I want to show you something. I've got the plate ready. Okay, so the dough is almost ready. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of water to make it pancake consistency. So what I'll show you is, this is the dough I made last night, and we made a snack. See how beautiful it is? This is how our dough should look like. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add the salt, because I didn't want to add the salt in the beginning, because what happens is adding the salt even adds more liquid to the dough. So I wanted the dough to kind of come together and bind before we add the salt. So now I'm going to add half a teaspoon of salt. Use a measuring spoon, and if not, if you can eyeball it, that's great. I have my chopped coriander. You can use chopped mint if you like, or if you like a combination, that's also fine. Everything, again, depending on how you like to have in terms of your grain. So now we have added our vegetable and our stock. Salt, I'm just going to I wish we had smell-o-vision, and I'm being really serious. This smells so good. If anybody is cooking along, is there anybody cooking along? Would you put your hands up if you're cooking along? I can't see you. Is there anybody cooking along, Param or Sandhana? Is there anybody cooking along? Okay.
Seems like most are concentrating on what you're doing and saying.
Yeah, the video is off. So if someone is cooking, I think they can switch on their video so that I can.
Okay, so if you're focusing on today's lesson, and then you're going to make it after the demo, that's cool. We'll talk about it in the end, but anybody, any questions, you guys could let Param know or me know.
Maybe I can ask you one question, which I did put it in the chat box.
Yeah, I just
Earlier you just alluded that you had a dough made last night. Does it taste any better, and the nutrient values, do they change if you make the batter day before or something like that?
Excellent question. And no, you could, this is why, I mean, I know I've done a lot of talking and explaining, but if you just think about making this recipe top down, you are going to find that you can make this dough in 15 minutes. Okay. I mean, it needs to rest, but if you have all your ingredients chopped and ready to go, that's the beauty of it. This is like having a dosa. This is like having a pancake at home without having to wait, because a lot of times, this is my answer to having like a dosa. I mean it, because dosa really, dosa is a South Indian rice crepe. It's made with 3/4 cup of rice and 1/4 cup of urad dal, and they're ground together into a batter and fermented sometimes overnight, because it needs to have some yeast action to raise, and it raises my blood sugar. And same thing with idli. So for me, this is my answer to having a wonderful, wonderful sort of like dosa. In South India also, we have a dish called ade. And this is my answer. Northern part of India, they have like chila. Chila is 100% made with besan, and sometimes they put some vegetables in it, and it's made into a sort of like a thin pancake. This is my answer, because this, from top to bottom, doesn't take long to make. And guess what? It's healthy, It's low GI, and it's wonderful. Coming back to the question, you don't have to make it the night before and have it waiting or the nutrient value. It's fine the day you make it. And a beauty about it is if you make only a couple today and you want to make it the next day, the dough is fine. It'll stay in your refrigerator for about 2-3 days. It's not a problem. Just keep in mind, because we have onion here, onion kind of tends to go off. So I would say maximum like 2-3 days in the fridge. Otherwise, every vegetable starts to even more water in the fridge, and the dough just kind of gets sour, and it's just not so good. So I would kind of use this within 2-3 days. But you know what? Once you make this dish, you're not going to put it in the fridge because you're going to enjoy making it and eating it, and it's gone. Because in our house, it just doesn't last very long. So you can see the dough. This is the consistency you want. Okay. It's not too thin and it's not too thick. And that's the consistency you want. Okay, my frying pan is ready. Okay, so we're going to make our pancake. So it's nice and hot. And what I have here is a little bit of oil. And what I'm going to do with a little bit of oil is I'm just going to take the oil and brush the pan with it. And there's a different way of doing it too. You could take an onion, cut it in half, rub the oil over it, or you could take a paper towel and dab the oil and rub it. Everything works. Okay, I'm just going to move it a little bit more closer so you can see. Okay, I don't want to lose my arm, so I'm just going to keep it like this. Okay. Now, and there's one more test is you want to hear that sizzle. Okay, so now we know the pan is really nice and hot. See? Okay. I'm going to put about 2 ladles. And I would just be very, very careful not to, because to spread it too thin. And I just play with it until I get to a thinness that I like. Okay, if you want, you can add some more batter to it. This is a good, healthy 4 or 5 inches. And I provided the nutritional carb amount for each recipe. Okay, I thinned it out as much as I want. You don't have to babysit it this much. I'm just kind of playing with it. Okay, so now I'm going to cover it up. This lid is about 30 years old. My mom gave it to me when I was cooking from university, and I still have it with me, and it's my lucky lid. So I'm just going to cover it, and I'm going to let this cook for about 1 minute to 2, because what I want to do is by covering it, the steam is going to cook the pancake. Because don't forget, this is not your typical pancake batter. This is not your dosa batter, because normally they are finely ground flour. Don't forget, rice or all-purpose flour is refined, and it is so quick to cook. So you don't have to do this much. But don't forget, in here we have about 4 different grains here, a lot of vegetable here, and a lot of spices. So we want them to cook. So this is why I'm covering it for about a good minute and a half. Yeah, see, the steam is cooking, so I'm going to leave it for like another 30 seconds, and then we're going to flip it. Do we have any questions so far? Okay. See, this is beautiful now. See, you can see, and the top is nicely sort of all, cooked. And what you can do is, if you want, again, just for some extra crispiness, you can put a little bit of oil around it or on top, or ghee. And we'll talk later about ghee. But right now, let's worry about the pancakes. So, see, beautiful. And it smells so good. And this time when you flip it, you don't have to put the lid. So we're just going to cook it and let it cook for like another minute. And you're going to find it's incredibly tasty and it's satisfying. So if you have for lunch, I put a proportion for 2 pancakes is about only 210 calories. Can you imagine? And it's got 6 grams of fiber and 30 grams of carb. It's all within ballpark, because for lunch, the aim for type 1 diabetes is about 45 grams of carbohydrate. And if you have a healthy pancreas, don't worry about it. You can have how many ever of these pancakes you want. But a 2.5, I'm telling you, will fill you up because of all the ingredients that's gone in there. We're going to still make our chutney because right after this, we're going to make the chutney. And I'll show you how to pan it, plate it, and eat it. And this is so, so, so good. Yeah, I'm just going to wait 30 more seconds, and we will make the chutney. Is there any questions so far?
Yeah, there's a question saying, which oil do you use? And would you recommend grated potato in addition to other vegetables?
Excellent question, excellent question. Okay. Coming back to the oil, I'm using canola oil. Canola oil is proudly Canadian. I'm actually working on a recipe development, a different project with canola. But the reason I said it is, to me, it's all about wellness. And a lot of South Asian cooking needs, okay, I'm just going to take this. See, this is beautiful. I'm just going to fold it. And we'll make another one. Yeah, so coming back, for things like this, you could use canola oil. You could use something like a sunflower oil. You could use safflower oil. But I would not use something like let's say vegetable oil, because vegetable oil just means it's a combination of all the oils that are left over, and that's what they call vegetable oil. You have no idea what's in it. So and I want to come back to canola oil, for example, because canola oil is one of those oils that has excellent smoke points. Smoke point means how long it takes in terms of literally an oil in a pan to smoke. And when you use oils that are like a virgin olive oils, they would just smoke and all the nutrition is gone. So I would use canola oil for things like high heat cooking. And then when you want like a salad dressing, then I would use something like, extra virgin olive oil. And coming back to potato, see, potato, I have nothing against potato, but if you look at the glycemic index, potato raises your blood sugar. So we are trying to make this recipe kind of low carb, right? Low GI. So adding potato, if you look in the chart here, potato is high GI. So why would you want to add grated potato here? You're just adding more carb and more starch, and your blood sugar is going to go up. So that's why choose a vegetable that's much lower GI for the pancakes. So carrot for a whole cup is 15 grams or less. Okay, so that's nominal, and that's why you put a star. For like some of the starchy vegetables. So I would go with something like green peppers, shredded cabbage, finely chopped broccoli, cauliflower, that sort of stuff. And you can even put like corn, but I wouldn't put a lot of corn. I would just put a little bit. And but the idea is, you know, what we have here is we have onion, we have carrot, we have zucchini, you know. And tomorrow you could put green pepper, shredded cabbage, and onions, or green onions, or you know, the combination is endless. I would just stay away from potato for this dish.
Okay, thank you. And there's another question. Can we use sesame oil?
Sesame oil, I wouldn't use it for this. Sesame oil, I'll tell you where sesame oil comes in a couple of minutes when we eat the chutney. But for cooking, I wouldn't use sesame oil. Not for this frying, this dish anyway. Not to sort of heat your pan. No, I wouldn't do that. Because sesame oil has a low smoke point and it will start smoking.
Yeah.
You could use like avocado oil right now. It's incredibly popular. You could use like you know, walnut oil and stuff, but you know, don't forget, avocado oil for a small bottle is like about $8. And so use that avocado oil for something a little bit more in terms of, how do you say, like, you know, it's like, would you take a Ferrari to the grocery store to get milk, or would you enjoy your Ferrari going like, you know, in a racetrack? So that's what it means. It means don't use your expensive oil for something like high heat cooking. Okay, so use your good oil. Like sesame oil is fantastic and it has its place. See, it's beautiful. And I want to also show you in terms of, you know, the thickness, right? This is nice and thick, and it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna fill you up. So we're almost done with this. So I'm gonna make the chutney, and I'm gonna show you how the chutney comes together. Great questions, by the way. Keep coming. If you have any other questions, just keep them coming.
There's one more question here asking, normally I use Greek yogurt to mix the different flours for the dough. Any advantage or not?
Very good question. You could, if you wanted to, absolutely. But, you know, I would tell you, again, save that Greek yogurt, use it as a dip. And when we make our chutney, I'm going to give you a recipe also with your Greek yogurt, and then you can eat it with it because it tastes so good. But don't put the Greek yogurt in it, because you could see this batter came together beautifully, and it binded well, because the binding agents here are the basin and the cream of wheat. So just even putting 2 tablespoons of cream of wheat beautifully binded this dough together. So you don't have to add you know, yogurt. I mean, I know for pancakes, a lot of people would, for example, use milk, yogurt. Fantastic. If you want it, go for it. You know, you could put let's say a couple of tablespoons of it. Go for it. Okay, I'm going to turn my stove off, and I'm going to see, and I'm just going to put my pancake, and I'm going to make the chutney. So this is what it is. And I'm going to make the chutney, and we'll show you how it looks together. If you look, for example, the example here, Suita, could you do me a favor? Could you unplug the stove? If you look at the consistency of the batter we have today, don't touch this, sweetie, it's hot. My tech. Okay, I just need the blender to the foreground. Don't touch, it's hot. Yeah, okay. I just need the blender here. Okay, so if you look at my batter that we made today, and my batter yesterday, it's pretty much the same. See, not too much difference. Today I actually made it a little thicker, but again, it's your taste. I mean, a lot of times recipes, I give recipes, but I also want you to play with the recipe to see what your consistency is. This is a general guideline, and I want you to kind of play with it, like, and say, hey, you know what? I want more vegetables, or I want less, whole wheat flour and more basin. But the idea is keep the ratio a little bit tighter, because as long as you have basin and a bit of cream of wheat, it's going to bind your ingredients together. Okay, so that's the importance. Now, I have my cooled vegetables. Okay. I'm going to put it in my blender, and I'm going to do it in installments. I'm going to do it probably in 2 batches, because I didn't want to get my big blender here. It makes a lot of noise. And I haven't put salt here yet. And I will add the salt in the end, because one of the key things about any cooking is sometimes a recipe will say salt for taste, and it really means that, because a lot of vegetables that come from our Mother Earth already has nitrate. Nitrate means it's another name for sodium, salt. And so a lot of times, for example, we have zucchini, we have tomato, and a lot of things from Earth actually has tiny bit of salt. We just don't know it, and we just keep adding salt. And especially being South Asian, we're very guilty about adding a lot of salt, because we, especially being South Indian, it was always instilled me that salt is wealth. So we put salt in everything, and we put a lot of salt. So one of the greatest things that I tell you, if you're a person with diabetes, you have to be careful about your sodium intake, because not only you're paying attention to your carbohydrate, you have to pay attention to the fat, you have to pay attention to the salt, because salt is what causes hypertension, like blood pressure. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about salt when we make our chutney, is add it in the end. The good question is maybe about a half a teaspoon, but add it in the end. Don't add it now. Okay, I'm just going to put it together. Okay, he's complaining it's too thick. I'm just gonna get some water. Any questions so far at all? I like my chutney chunky, so I'm going to make it chunky. I see a couple of questions on the chat. I don't remember you grinding the oats after you roasted it. You don't need to grind it. Because you could see the oat really nicely binds together. So when you eat it, you're not going to feel the flakes. It really kind of comes together. So you don't need to grind it. In terms of heat, I'll talk about it in a minute. I have another bowl right here, so I'm going to show you. Since I'm doing it in batch, I'm going to do one more batch. Any other questions so far?
I don't see any as such.
Okay. You can also, for the chutney, you can also use green chili. I decided to use dried red chili, but if you want it, you can also use fresh green chili as well. And some people might say, hey, can I add garlic to it? Yeah, but I prefer the chutney here not having garlic because it just has a beautiful fresh taste with just ginger alone. Because a lot of Indian cooking, they have ginger and garlic, and automatically you think, oh, gee, you know, I should put some garlic in it. Well, this recipe really works better with just ginger. Again, the water, I would watch it, but again, it's your personal, you know, your taste. For the recipe, I said, you know, I said half a cup of water. If you like it thick, you could stick to half a cup, but if you want it thin, you can add a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to show you in terms of the consistency. So like right now we have like this, but we still have a second batch to go. Beautiful. And I'm going to talk about the peanut ingredient here. Peanut is what's making this chutney really thick and rich. Okay, and it makes it, it gives you the extra plant. Excuse me. This is what gives the plant protein. Okay, and I'm working on a publication with Diabetes Canada where we are talking about South Asian diet, especially if you're a vegetarian, you're not getting enough protein. So we need to really focus on protein. So this dish, I was kind of trying to look and figure out how to balance our macros. Macros are like the three big giants: the carbohydrate, the healthy fat, and the protein. Okay, and in terms of fat, we have added a couple of teaspoons of canola oil. That's where our fat is. And I had a question here about ghee. You can add ghee, and what you can do is, you know, again, everything in moderation, right? So when we were drizzling a little bit of canola oil on top, what you can do is same thing. You can drizzle a little bit of ghee on top. So right now we have the chutney, and I would not heat this chutney, and the chutney should be enjoyed like room temperature. If you're going to have leftover of this chutney, I would say put it in a, you know, a plastic container, leave it in the fridge, and next day you can enjoy it. But I would just take that chutney out about a half hour before you're having your pancake dough again next day, just so it's not, you know, freezing cold. But this chutney should be just enjoyed room temperature. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my salt, which I didn't before, and I'm also going to add my chopped coriander. So I added my salt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to taste this. Transfer it to a different spoon. I'm just going to taste this. Very, very good, if I could say so. It's gingery, it's peanutty, it's tomatoes. You can taste everything except carrots and zucchini. They're in there. Your family's never going to know. It's in there. It's delicious. And what I would do is put a little bit of chopped coriander, mix it up. And this is how I would serve it.
There's a question here. Is canola oil non-hydrogenated and cold pressed?
Virgin canola oil is, yes, non-hydrogenated. Hydrogenated basically means things like margarine and things like that. So canola oil is not hydrogenated. So it's quite healthy. So this is how I would plate it. There you go. We have our chutney and we have our healthy pancake. And 2 is a good serving with about 3 tablespoons of chutney. You can have some more chutney because chutney, if you look at the nutritional information, it's 31 calories. I mean, my goodness, 2 grams of carbohydrate. I mean, you can have a lot of chutney with this if you wanted to, because 2 grams is almost like nominal. I could even insulin for this, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to do a quick taste test. I'm going to break it up. I'm going to dip in my chutney. It's absolutely delicious, if I can say so. And my daughter and my husband is 4th generation Canadian. He would eat this whole plate, honest, because the pancake is delicious with the crunchy onions, the ginger. It really comes together. It's really, really tasty and filling. And the chutney is, again, delicious and wholesome, and it brings it together. I'm going to come back to the Greek yogurt. So if you wanted to get your Greek yogurt in, this is what I would do. I would take about 1/2 cup of green yogurt, and I'm giving you a recipe as we go along. Put some grated tomato like we did. Instead of making this chutney, you can take, a cup of Greek yogurt, some chopped green onions, chopped ginger, some tomatoes, some cumin seeds, touch of salt and pepper, and really, really whip it up. It becomes really nice and soft, and then you can enjoy it with the pancake. It will be absolutely a delicious and also a healthy accompaniment, because the Greek yogurt is going to give you a lot of healthy protein, and it will be a really nice accompaniment. For example, even when we at home would eat something like a pancake like this, some people would have a little cup of just plain yogurt to dip. But I'm giving you a little bit more like a chutney consistency. But if you just don't want to, fuss, and you just made this pancake, you can just have a bit of Greek yogurt to enjoy with it. Any other question in terms of what other condiments you could use with a pancake?
Is how did you calculate the nutrition content?
I have access to a program that the dietitians use, and that's what I was able to plug in all my ingredients, and this is how many servings are done, and that's how the analytics are done.
Yeah, I think recipe related questions are done. There are many other questions though. Is canola oil good for deep frying as well?
Absolutely. Like I said, canola oil is excellent for deep frying. Again, in terms of when we were talking about smoke point, canola oil will take the deep frying. So if you have, like I said, there are 3 good oils. Canola is polyunsaturated. Somebody asked a question about hydrogenation. Hydrogenation only comes in when you're trying to make the liquid into hard, spreadable stuff. So when you, basically what it is taking hydrogen and putting it through the oil to whip it. So what happens is when you take, for example, if you go into the grocery aisle, you've probably seen like a basil. Basil is for example, the brand, and that's what they do. They make a margarine, especially people with, let's say, health issue, like a cardiovascular issues. A margarine, like a plant-based solid product is good, and that's where. But these days, it's not really, hydrogen is not used to thicken it. There are different methods that are used to thicken the canola into a spreadable thing. So, for example, for morning toast, if you're looking for it, but there are different ways that are used, and it's still very, very healthy. So the product, for example, if you've seen in the grocery store called, there's one called basil, and that's what they do. So there are all kinds of different kind of a spreadable things. So canola, again, is only, it is a Canadian grain. If you look at canola, it looks like mustard seeds. I'm working with a canola producer for some recipes, and what we're doing is, again, there are different grades. Somebody asked about it. So canola, you would buy in a grocery store that comes in a sort of like a clear bottle, means it's been pressed many times, and it's not cold pressed. Cold pressed means the first press. Okay, that's the virgin. So you could get, for example, canola oil that are 100% almost like an olive oil. I'm working with a company called Golden Canada. You can Google them, and they make canola oil and flaxseed oil. Those are all really good. I'm going to talk about sesame oil as well. Those are topping. For example, when we would eat this chutney, what you can do is you can put a little bit of ghee in it. So if you're thinking about adding a healthy fat, you could put liquid ghee in it. So like a melted butter. You could put sesame oil here, like a teaspoon of it, and mix it up and dip your thing. It is so delicious. For example, again, back home, we would use a lot of chutney, and we would put like maybe a teaspoon. So that's another way of getting your healthy fat in there. So this is where your sesame oil comes in. You can put a teaspoon of sesame oil, mix it up, and dip your pancake. It's delicious. You can put extra virgin olive oil here. You can put your avocado oil here. You can put your walnut oil here. This is where you put your Ferrari, that expensive oil you have. This is where you would put it, not during the cooking, but in the finishing sauce.
Oh, that's great. And then there's one question saying, shouldn't basin add a little bit of protein?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Shouldn't basin add a little bit of protein?
Of course, absolutely. This is why this recipe, like we have here, we have, again, coming back to the macros, we have in the pancake, we have oats. Oats is healthy, high fiber. Okay, so we up the fiber. So when you're a person with diabetes, you need a lot of fiber. We'll come back to the glycemic table, is to make your body do the work. Because when you eat a normal pancake, when you eat a dosa, it's been finely ground. So when you eat it, you chew it, it goes through your system very quickly. So if you wear a sensor like mine, after you eat a dosa, you'll see a curve like that because it's been processed. But eating oats also has a tiny bit of protein, not as much as basin. But basin is also, don't forget, it has healthy carb, but also protein. So in here, adding basin, we have added protein to the value. But what I'm doing is I'm coupling them together. So it's not just only one dish, we combine them. So we have now, when you look at the plate, it's a balanced macro here. So you have healthy fat, healthy protein, and healthy carb. By adding, like I said, healthy fat means you could add, instead of the canola oil that I drizzled on the pancake, you can put a little bit of ghee or sesame oil or any oil you like. But I would stick to like a really good finishing oil. I wouldn't put something like again, canola oil here.
Thank you. Is it okay to add grated coconut in the chutney?
Grated coconut in the chutney?
Yeah.
Absolutely, you can. But don't forget, part of the reason I didn't put coconut is typical South Indian chutney. I'm just coming back to South Indian, and I'm going to come back and talk for like a Western diet. Coconut, again, if you have a healthy body in terms of cardiovascular issue, coconut is fine. But coconut also has cholesterol. So this is why I didn't add coconut. So this chutney is coconut free. You could add this chutney, you can make this chutney with a tiny bit of coconut pieces if you want and roast it and grind it. Okay. And if you want to add a grated coconut in the end to this, absolutely, if you want. But see, again, this recipe isn't fixed. This is for you to kind of make it and say, hey, you know what, this chutney is really good, but I want my coconut. Go for it. If you want to add something, I can't think of another thing that would be top, but absolutely, you can add anything to the chutney, a finished product, or when we were sauteing. The recipe is flexible for you, but just know that the calories and the nutrient value will change by you adding things like coconut, because it'll add a little bit more fat and a little bit of carbohydrate as well.
Thank you. There's another question. Glycemic load versus glycemic index.
So in terms, are they asking what is the glycemic load versus glycemic index?
Yes.
Okay, so what we are talking about here is, we talked about, coming back to the grains and starches that we are looking on this page. They all have sort of like a breakdown here. But load means combining them together, and what is the given value here? That's all it means. So in here, in terms of looking at the glycemic load here, everything here has been made with low, in terms of load. So I would say it's a very low glycemic load here.
Yep, thank you. And then there are a few asking, what's her website or any other site?
In terms of my site, or just in terms of where people can get this information?
Oh, I don't know. The question is, what's her website or any other site?
Diabetes Canada has an amazing site in terms of South Asian food. If anybody wants a particular website and link, I can send it to the facilitators, so they can forward it, or they can email it to me, and I will give them give them a detail. There's also Mendoza. If you Google Mendoza, they are expert in sort of glycemic tables. They will be also able to provide that kind of information. But I would certainly make searches in terms of, hey, it's really hard to eat low GI all the time, because it's a juggling act. So if you look at for the table here, it's a big juggling act, because if you look, for example, a banana and watermelon is considered high glycemic, even though watermelon is 90% water. But because when they tested the glycemic index on individuals who had watermelon, their blood sugar went up. But don't forget, it's an average. So some people may react high to a watermelon, but some people may not. So this is something that, as an individual, you could test and see, hey, is watermelon raising my blood sugar? It's a really good thing to test. For me, watermelon doesn't raise my blood sugar, but banana does. So at home, I don't eat banana, but it doesn't mean I shouldn't eat banana. I just can say and then again, banana has whole different range. When you buy the banana in a grocery store, it's almost like yellow-green. That has a different glycemic value than a banana with a lot of dark spots, because what happens is that every day the banana is ripening and the sugars are getting concentrated. So by 5th day, the banana sugar value is different from the first day. So for me, I'm not really quick with it, so I just don't eat a banana, but I eat a small apple instead, because small apple is about 15 grams of carbohydrate. So I just think about food in terms of numbers. So you could figure out what works. So for example, if you look at the glycemic index here, we have apple, we have apricot, we have berries. Berries are, so think about when you look at fruits, spring, all the berries come. And it's a green checkpoint, okay? That means you could eat all the berries you want. In the summer, you get the mangoes, you get the peaches, you get all of them. They are a little higher in sugar. And then when you go to fall, you come back to the pears and apple. So just focus on the spring and the fall fruits, and the summer fruits. If you want to enjoy a mango, have a half a mango in the morning and have the half in the afternoon, or balance it out with the mango with some protein. So if you're going to enjoy a beautiful mango, enjoy it guilt-free. Don't, there's no such thing as a forbidden fruit or forbidden food. Just enjoy a mango with some cup of yogurt or cup of, something with protein. Maybe a piece of chicken or an egg and maybe a ghee. I mean, the combination may sound really funny, and I'm going to explain that because the fat slows it down. So if you just eat a mango, it's going to raise your blood sugar. But if you add a bit of protein and fat to it, that mango is going to slow it down. So before even eating a mango, I'll give you a good quick trick. You might kind of go, that's kind of funny. Eat a tablespoon of ghee or a tablespoon of whatever, you like in terms of fat. And then maybe even have an egg or, some tofu scramble or whatever. Then you enjoy your mango and it's going to slow down because all the food that you have ingested before the mango is going to slow down. So think of it like a road traffic, right? You got a slow moving truck in the front and he's going to prevent this fast speeding cars passing him. So the fat and the protein is going to protect you from these really fast, high sugar fruits.
Believe it or not, we are coming very close to the end of the session. Rachana, maybe we can have one more question.
Actually, you know what? Before we wrap up, I just want to share something very quickly with you guys.
Sure.
I have prepared, and I will show you. Since we're talking glycemic, in here, I have sort of like California brown rice. And I have, brown basmati rice versus the white rice. And if you want to go for sort of everyday enjoyment rice, I would go for the converted rice. We have it in the GI table here because converted rice is a rice that already all the nutrients have been steamed in and the husk is there. So the only thing only the husk has been removed. So for everyday enjoyment, if you're looking for rice, I would go with converted rice. It's low GI and it's healthy.
Thank you, Shiva. I think we can try conclude this session. First of all, Shiva, thank you very much for cooking those delicious dishes. Only problem is we can look at it, but we can't smell or eat. Actually, tell you the truth, if I were driving distance from you, I would have been at your doorstep. I wouldn't have been sitting here in front of the computer. And the second thing I can imagine that your husband doesn't have to say, "What's for lunch, honey?" because he knows what it is. Thank you.
You're
Hungry.
And I'm being honest, I'm not being biased at all. My kitchen smells incredible because that toasted fennel and the cumin just goes a long way, and the ginger. And I hope you will try this recipe, and I'd love to hear feedback from you guys. Send it to Parman Sandanan. If not, you can email it to me, and I think my contact information is there, my Gmail, or I have social media account, Cooking with Siva, in Instagram. If you guys want to follow me. I'm working on a cookbook right now. Actually, 2 cookbooks. One is one for the mainstream, like Western audience, and one is for the South Asian audience because it's going to be all sort of healthy and diabetes. But the idea is any question you have about today's recipe or any other thing, you can just email it to me and I will gladly answer. And I'd love to hear your feedback about how you enjoyed it, because I'm telling you, you're going to really enjoy making it. You're going to enjoy making it over and over again, because it only takes, like I said, 15, 20 minutes if you have all the prep work done, and it's really enjoyable. And you're going to kind of find, hey, you know what? I don't have to make the dosa because it takes overnight. I'm just going to go with this.
Thank you, Shiva. One of the things I think you did mention somebody had asked about some information on diabetes. I know that Diabetes Canada has a wonderful website, and there are lots and lots and lots of information, including pertinent to South Asians, etc. So once again, thank you very much, Shiva. With that, I'd like to invite Param Bhatt once again to give the vote of thanks. Param.
Thanks very much, Siva, for this fantastic explanation and demonstration. You gave so much information that we could not get reading a whole set of books. So really, thank you very much. And as Sadananda said, I could join Sadananda and come to your door right now. But anyway, we'll do it another day. So thanks very much for this excellent demo and explanations. And I want to thank Sadanand for leading this effort in bringing healthy lifestyle to our, especially seniors. And thanks Rachana for managing today's Zoom. So thanks everyone. I hope you all get back to your kitchen and try Siva's recipe. So thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Param.
everybody. And again, enjoy the recipe, and hopefully you'll make some amazing modifications. Let me know your feedback. And I want to again thank OKA and SVBS for giving me this opportunity to present to you guys. And thank you all for tuning in. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon, everybody.
Thank you, Param and Shiva. The last thing I just wanted to mention is that we have some more programs coming up in this series. April 17th, we have a second session. I'm not sure what Shiva is going to cook, and I'm not going to ask her. Let's keep it a little bit of a surprise. We will send the information at least 2-3 weeks before the program. And also we are in the process of planning a fantastic information session on diabetes with experts in the field. That will be on May 29th. So please keep these dates or mark these dates in a calendar. Until then, thank you very much. Have a great time. Let's keep in touch. If you have any questions, etc., you can still send it to Shiva or even to me, and I will share them with Shiva. Thank you once again.
Thank you
Bye
all.
for now.
April 17th, if you guys are interested for part 2. So goodbye,
Yes.
everybody.
Bye. Rachana, that is the
Yes.
end of the session. Thank you very much again.
I'll end the live streaming and